So one of the things that I'm looking with is the architecture of the wound, the architecture of the cult, the architecture of the ego, which has, I'm determined not to feel this way again. If this happens, I'll feel that way. I can't do this because then this will happen, then this will happen, then this will happen, then this will happen. I can't move out of here because there's a dead end with this here. This moves like that. And when I get into this, there's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of tightness, a lot of nowhere to move, a lot of hostility, a lot of defense, like all these different things. What if this? And I can't do this because I'll lose control. I can't do this because I don't have, the authority to do so. I can't do this because this law is blocking me, culturally, egotistically, etc. There's all these different things, and it's packed in there, and it feels like there's nowhere to move. And in that state, there's a lot of fear, and there's regression, then there's, helplessness. So that's what's going down here. Now, up here is what I would call, or differentiate, I would call this kind of the ego matrix of thoughts and beliefs, the cult matrix of thoughts and beliefs. And up here we have what I'd call the self. Now, the self is not in any of that. The self is just watching, this particular maze or whatever, and isn't particularly invested. And so, I get in touch with this really lovely and expansive sense of self, and I think this is me, meaning the energy is attuned, it feels great, I enjoy my life enormously, I'm present, I'm alive. But then this thought comes in, well, how do we take this feeling into what do we do tomorrow here? And that's where I get stuck up again. Then I lift out and focus on, this witness sense of self, and there's a graciousness and a flow, and then come down, well, what does that mean here? What does that mean here? And it's back into attachment to all these things, to not feeling this thing, to feeling this thing, to being looked at like this and not looked at like this, and not breaking this law and not breaking, and it's right back into the mix. And of course, one has to come back into daily life and deal with it within one sense of framework. But there's such a distinction between these two at the moment. So what I'm exploring and working with is how to bring this energy and this consciousness down towards some of these situations without immediately going into the attachments in the situation. And I think that's where the work in Byron Katie, both as a model, an energy, and a technology, kind of comes in to unbind some of these catch-22 double binds in the situation.